Hello, everybody. I am once again kind of jumping in on the center this. I'm not editing that out. Jumping in on kind of the drama. My last video justifiably didn't do well because it was kind of trauma dumping Destiny, and I get it. And it's a different story today. I have moved since the last time I recorded any videos. I have moved to another state. The room's a little bit of a mess, but it's better than it was. I have been trying to. I've been working for the last 5 weeks on trying to set up a new store for the company I work at during my day job, and it's been a lot, and I've been exhausted. And tomorrow's my grand opening, and then today I read the weekly update for Destiny, and it's not what I was expecting. And this video isn't so much a commentary on that. I don't want to get into armchair development. I don't want to get into if only this, if only that. I just want to take a minute to appreciate when I say what we've lost or what we're losing, it is with the understanding that Destiny 2 is going to remain playable for the foreseeable future. Destiny is not going away. This game is not disappearing from our collective libraries. But when Bungie said we're ending active development on Destiny 2, the hurt from, and you say what you will, but I've had enough times today where I've been talking to my friends and being like, it feels really weird that I'm this upset over something like this, over a game. And everybody has said the same thing to me, from my wife to my closest friends. They've all said the same thing. Destiny has been such an important part of my life, and it's had its ups and downs, its trials and tribulations. But ultimately, I didn't put 10,000 hours into Destiny for nothing. It wasn't because I hated the game. And yeah, I play a lot less of it these days, but it is funny because Sunday was my last day off after working 6 days straight, and before working 10 days straight. Sunday was my last day off, and I don't really know how it happened, but I got to chatting with some of my Destiny friends, and they said, hey, you know what? I kind of want to play some Destiny. And part of why I'm playing the soundtrack in the background, they said, hey, you know what? I've really been thinking about playing the Final Shape campaign again, just to kind of feel something good about Destiny, something I know is good about this. And he said to me that sounds awesome, and I would love to do that. And we played through the entirety of the Final Shape campaign. And it was amazing. It is my most played Destiny campaign. I still firmly believe that the Final Shape is Destiny's best overall expansion, because it is in so many ways a love letter to the franchise and to its fans, and the culmination of storytelling that at this day, it's common, more common than I'd like it to be, that people, kind of shit on Destiny's storytelling, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Destiny has the best and most original storytelling ever, but originality does not dictate the quality of a story. Writing does, and more often than not, when we're not talking about Aramis or Fickrell, I think Bungie, for the most part, really nails the story. And I think some of their lowest lows in story are still better than some games' highest highs. And I think the highest highs in Destiny, when you look at things like the Witch Queen, the Final Shape, parts of the Red War, parts of Forsaken, Season of Dawn, Heresy. The episode for Heresy, I think, has some of the best writing in the history of the franchise. I still think to this day, the coldest, most amazing line of dialogue I have ever heard, maybe in Destiny, other than "Raise a Hymn to the God of War" by Xivu Arath from that same episode, was Oryx, spoilers for Heresy, the unplayable content in that game. At the end, when you kill Oryx again, and it's just, at least the stars will remember the shape I gave them. And that almost kind of feels like how Destiny is going out right now. It's Destiny is going out at its lowest point. Oryx was kind of at his lowest point, dealing with the fact that, he died a proper death and had to deal with the ramifications of being a fake version of himself. I'm not trying to, force too much, metaphor here or anything, but, I kind of feel like and hope that this is at least, people at Bungie just having their, at least the stars will remember the shape I gave them moment. And that people will ultimately now be able to look back on the good of Destiny, and that will be the narrative going forward. There's always going to be the people who will hate Destiny no matter what, and a lot of them do have justifiable reasons to do that, whether it's content vaulting or, or anything else in between. But playing that Final Shape campaign and having those high, I got into a 12-person excision, against all odds. We queued expecting no one to be there, and we got into a full excision in the story version. And it's just, watching that final cutscene, and it gets me every time. Even just thinking about it kind of chokes me up. When Cade, turns to you and says, "You're my favorite." Don't ever forget that. And that is just a moment to me that transcends the game. In that moment, I had never felt more seen as a player. I'm sorry, I'm doing a terrible job looking at my camera. I'm kind of looking at the preview here. I never felt more seen as a player of a game I loved than when Cade told me I was his favorite. It's hard, because Destiny feels like this friend that I've built for the last decade, and it's I fought with that friend a lot. But there are so many moments along the way that have been so great that I could never give them up. It wasn't always the best relationship between us, but there was so much more good than bad. And as much as it became hard sometimes to see the good, I'm not trying to rewrite the narrative of Destiny, especially the recent Fully Deserved. If there's one thing Bungie is most right about, this would have been better and probably easier if this had happened after the Final Shape. If they had released the Final Shape and just said, this is the end of Destiny 2. I think that would have been easier for everybody involved because we would have had that emotional high and we would have had that satisfaction. And I feel like leaving the story unfinished is, for something I've been telling my friends for weeks, months to prepare for. And like, well, they're going to have the expansion. And like, me just constantly saying, I think they're closer to not making to not making Destiny anymore than releasing a new expansion. And then today to have that happen, I was at work, I read it, and I just stopped. I was in the middle of doing something, and I just stopped. And I couldn't, there was a minute where I just kind of had to stop, and I kept rereading that statement, like, that they put on, the social media and on Discord and stuff. And I was just like, I'm reading it wrong. Something is not right about what I'm reading here. And unfortunately it was right. And I'm sitting here, listening to the soundtrack of The Final Shape and getting emotional. And it's not, the first or last time I'll be emotional with a game, but it's like, it's a situation where the game has meant so much to me for so long. And to see it end the way it is, it's hard. And I hate it. And this video is partially just me, my close friends, like, my real, like, IRL friends. I have Destiny friends, but so many of them have fallen off of the game. And the ones that I could really talk to, they're dealing with it in their own ways while living their lives. I don't really have anybody I can go to and just be like, hey, can I talk to you about Destiny? This is really weirdly hard for me. And so I'm coming to you. Because, if there's anybody who understands, hopefully, kind of what I'm going through, it's going to be you guys. And so I don't know. I'm at a loss. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go next. I don't know where to go from here. I don't know if I even want to play the update, because it just becomes a situation of, would it be easier to just not go back? Is it going to be worth it to have one, it's this balance of, is it going to hurt more if I go back and play this update and then have the realization that this is it? Or kind of never, it's like, do you watch the last episode of your favorite show? Because, and I have this problem, ask me if I've watched the last episodes of Attack on Titan. I have not. Because if in my sick mind, if I never finish it, it's never over. If I don't watch those last 2 episodes, I don't have to deal with the fact that it's over. There is always something there that I haven't seen. And it's like, would it be better to leave this frankly awesome sounding update and leave it and just like have the belief that, hey, you know what? Destiny went out on top. You know what I mean when I say that. I don't literally mean that, but or do I go and have one last hurrah and have one more Pantheon with everybody, and do I get the raid team back together and we have one more like great month of Destiny before everybody kind of goes their ways? Destiny is just one of those games that like you feel like you are a part of something that will never happen again. Even if they make another Destiny, it's not like all of these people are going to come back and play it again. I won't be able to have these memories of meeting these people for the first time again. And yes, there will be new people. There will be new memories, but it won't be these. And maybe I'm just at a point in my life where something weird about that matters to me more than it used to, because it used to just be there was always something new, there was always the next game, there was always something else, and Destiny stopped that cycle. Destiny got me through a very difficult time in my life, and you'll hear a lot of people say that, but when people have difficult times, they will cling to whatever makes them happy. And Destiny and the people that I met playing Destiny are the things that got me through those difficult times. And, you know, kind of as Destiny hit its low points, I started to find important things outside of Destiny. And so when Destiny kind of faltered with Lightfall and, you know, post Witch Queen and things like that, I had my now wife to fall back on, and eventually like my cats and my home and things like that. And it's all these nice things that kind of kept me distracted. But when all was said and done, I missed the days where when I didn't know what to do, I just played Destiny because it was there and everyone was there with me. You know, it was when we had too many people that we couldn't have just one raid team. It was doing private matches, 3v5, because, you know, there were only... None of these guys cared about PvP, but we all just wanted to play something. And that was the only way we could get 8 people in a game of something. You know, doing the 12-man activity bug back in the day and playing that. And doing 12-man raids or 9-man nightfalls and things like that. It was... Destiny has existed long enough that it continues to exist but is nostalgic. And, you know, I start to understand how, you know, longtime World of Warcraft players feel. And how, like, you know, some Warframe players might feel. How Final Fantasy XIV players feel. You know, because I've been a part of this game. Specifically, even Destiny 2 has been around long enough. It's almost 10 years of Destiny 2. Just by itself. And who's going to make another Destiny? Like, when you really think about it, who's going to invest the time, the effort, and the money? Because Bungie doesn't have the staff. Bungie might not have the time, and I know they're incubating new projects, and I hope that Bungie, you know, comes out on the other side of this stronger than ever, and they figure out what they're going to be going forward. Who's going to make another game like Destiny? Who's going to look at the blueprint that Bungie made and say, yeah, I want to take on that risk because I think I can get it right this time, or more right more often? I don't think anybody but Bungie could make a game like Destiny and make it as good as it has been. Even as inconsistent as it has been. Destiny is the game I always wanted as a kid. You know, playing Halo. I wanted like a Halo that was like Diablo, that was like an MMO. You know, I wanted a World of Warcraft, but a FPS. And I finally got it. And, you know, Destiny is not it's not really a great MMO experience. It's not always a great Diablo-like experience. But it was, especially like in the post-Forsaken era, it has almost always been exactly what I wanted it to be. And it's stumbled and it's made mistakes and it's just, but it has always been my comfort game. I have never played a game more than I have played Destiny 2. It's hard. It's just so hard. And I didn't even intend for this video to be so long and to be so rambly, but it's just so hard. And I don't know. I don't know who else to talk to and who else to turn to and who can kind of understand this pain with me is the problem, because I don't have the big, I don't have the big, streamer friends doing. I have a lot of great Destiny friends. Those Destiny friends are already, kind of mainlining other games, whether it's, Arc Raiders or the First Descendant, or Marathon or something else. They have done the one thing that I could never do, and that was not quit, but let Destiny be secondary, because all I ever wanted was Destiny to be my thing. And so, that's where we're at. And it pains me that we are at this point. I don't plan on doing any coverage of anything in this new patch. I don't think it's valuable. I don't think it's, I don't think it's worth my time, not because, of you guys, or not worth my time because, Destiny is, not going to be actively developed. I just think that, Destiny is what it is. And, regardless of what this final, content release is, I think it's either you want to experience it yourself, or you don't want to experience it at all. And maybe that changes. Maybe, they're bringing back, they're making Gambit ops. It took the game dying, but we got a Gambit update. I wonder if they'll let me get my Dredgen 17. Are you going to refresh it? I don't know. Can I Dredgen one more time? Might be one of the few in the game who has every Dredgen guild. I'm probably going to try and get these last titles just so I can say I have all the one season only. I don't have any of the one season, like it was Flawless. They had 3 of those one season only things, and then they had Conqueror, and it was one season only. I don't have any of those, but I have every permanent title in the game. And I'll probably get these just because I'm that kind of sicko. And if I do play, I don't want to leave any unfinished business. Hell, I just started playing again recently, like playing Destiny semi-regularly, 15 hours in the last 2 weeks. And it's like, I just started playing again. I finally got the last piece of an armor set I was trying to get. And then they do this to me. I guess what I'm hoping from this, if anybody cares, if anybody wants to watch, if anybody wants to listen, if anybody wants to talk, throw something in the comments. Let's talk it out. Let's have a good cry. Let's have a good Destiny cry. That's really all it is. It's just, hey, let's kind of make the most of what we have left, I guess, and are you going to play the update? I had always hoped, and I was never consistent enough or driven enough. As much I've always wanted to be somebody. I've always wanted to be somebody. I've always wanted to be a bigger part of the Destiny community, and that's a little self-serving on my part, and I understand that. But I always had the aspirations that someday, Destiny there would be enough of a group there that would, find me maybe when the other content creators all moved on, and I could have the kind of community that was like, hey, we're going to run raids, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and I'm going to do these helps and things like that. And that's not going to happen at this point. We'll see where things go from here, but I mean, Destiny's time is more finite than ever before. And it makes me really sad. And I think it's okay to be sad about this, because destiny is such an important part of the lives of the people who it has touched in its ways. And so that's really all I have to say. That's just all I wanted to kind of talk about and get off my chest. And I feel a little better now. And kind of leave it at that and, see where things go from here. I appreciate anybody who's ever watched one of my videos. And I wish you all nothing but the best. I'm gonna try to, continue to focus on my life, my work, things like that, and maybe someday I'll see you Starside again.